What's going on, family? Theodore Helverveer, aka Big Teddy, back with ya. Oh, I'm so glad, I'm so proud, I'm so thankful to be here. First off, I want to apologize for not being able to drop the episode this Friday as I would have loved to do. But there's so many things been going on. Just finally got internet installed in my place so that I can put out my work on a regular basis. Working on multiple casts right now. Just got our Patreon set up, and we got a lot of big things coming your way. A lot of things that I'm really excited to share, right? And I'm actually gonna start off on that note with a comment or a quote that I heard recently, and it's so funny because I heard it from Gary Vee and Mark Cuban in the same day, and I heard it in two different ways, right? But what they both said is, the only thing that you really have control over in life is effort, okay? You can control how much effort you put into anything and everything you do, and that is going to be the difference, or one of the main differences between you reaching success and failure. And it's so funny to start with that because this episode today is something that I'm really passionate about, and obviously everything we talk about I'm really passionate about, but this is one of my main interests and the focal points, okay? So I've been doing a lot of studying and a lot of research lately because I love to learn. And so the center of today's discussion, the main topic of it is, you have to become a sponge. You have to learn how to learn. And this is a topic and a subject that turns people off very easily. There are a lot of people who are very intelligent, very smart, very capable intellectually in a lot of different ways. But because they don't feel as though they fall into normal academic standards, primary academic standards, they think they're dumb, and it's not the case. You can learn about anything, right? So let's get into this right now. I love to learn, and one of the number one methods of my ascension in life, my gaining skill, my gaining expertise, my becoming more proficient, and just really expanding myself as an international traveler, as an author, as an upcoming entrepreneur, you know what I mean, has been learning. That is really what has put me above and at the forefront of so many different things. And I've always loved gaining knowledge, right? So something that everyone tells you who has any experience in any industry is, if you want to be successful at your business, if you want to be successful at your craft or your projects or your new endeavors or what you're doing, you have to be an expert on what you're doing. You need to learn and know everything there is to know about what you're working on, what you're selling, what you're marketing. And it doesn't matter if you're trying to pull in customers. It doesn't matter if you're trying to pull in investors. The only way you are going to give people confidence in you, in your product, in what you do, in what you're building, and what you're establishing is by being an expert on your craft, on what you're putting out. And the important thing to remember about that is that there's always new information coming out. There's always new innovation is happening. There's always new ways to do this and do anything. And so what you have to constantly be doing to stay at the head of your game, in the forefront of your field, is always be learning, right? That's lesson number one in what we're talking about today, which is becoming a sponge. Lesson number two, know what you know. You don't have to know everything about everything, but know what you know about your craft. Know what you know about your art. Know what you know about your business. Something I can tell you firsthand from everything I've ever done and everything I still continue to do is that a small percentage of people are going to be on board, and everyone else is going to come your way with doubts, with fears, with concerns. And the only way you put those down, the only way you get through those yourself, is by learning the answers and the knowledge and being ready for those doubts and those fears and those people when they come your way. Well, what about this? Is this going to work? Can we do this with this budget? Well, what I actually found out is that in order to get this started, we can set this up 3 different ways. And here's the budget that fits in that range. Now, this is our budget, and we actually have a little extra spending money. Being able to answer questions like that, it doesn't matter if you're renovating, it doesn't matter if you're growing, no matter what you're doing, those things, those little things put people's mind at ease. Before I ever bring a proposal to anyone about anything, I do my research. I do tons of research. So don't forget, you don't have to know everything, but know what you know. Okay? Know your business. Know what you're getting into. Have the answers to the questions that are going to come your way. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if I'm exploring a new religion. It doesn't matter if I'm looking up a new business technique. It doesn't matter if I'm looking up something that I want to invest in. First, I had to Google. I do research, you know what I mean? I find out who's offering classes, where I can find information from. I go to YouTube. I see what articles are on Twitter. I see what web pages and blogs have written about it. I see the good things, I see the bad things, and then I find everything that I can, because everybody thinks their method is the best. So if I find all of the best methods and put those together, then I can make the best method for me, something that works right for me. And that's what this is about. That's what the learning is about too. Learning how to take any set of circumstances and make it a win for you. Okay, we talked about that before. The acquisition of knowledge helps you to be prepared for things that come your way. We talked about learning from your losses, but this is about learning from everything around you. And that's the next point we're going to hit on. You have to draw information from as many sources as possible. It's the only way to sift through and find the truth. There's tons of information out there, and it can be very scary and very daunting to try and learn about something new and to try to find different ways and different places to get that information. But no matter how much you trust your source, not even me or anyone, it is never a good or safe practice to take all of your knowledge and all of your information from one place, because you're not learning to think for yourself. You're not learning for yourself. You're becoming a mimic or a parrot of someone else. And even if that's a person you admire, that can still be a bad thing, because everyone is fallible. Everyone has flaws. So the only way to get a real solid knowledge and base of understanding for information is to learn from as many places and as many sources as possible. And it's in doing this that we learn to form and develop our own opinions, ideals, thoughts, views, and beliefs. Okay? Becoming a sponge. These are the methods. So this actually wasn't even the original show that I had planned for Friday, but I was sitting down and I was learning about something new for myself that is really a solid investment for my future and the future of my family. And it was about finance, which is something we don't learn in school in a lot of places, in a lot of countries in the world, no matter where you're from. It's an education that you have to get later in life. And one of the most important lessons I learned from a great mentor who really changed the shape of things for me was Robert Kiyosaki, and that was about getting yourself a financial education. And the funny thing about that is this is where we come back to the conversation about learning from a lot of different sources and how important it is to gather so much information. Before I ever, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books, which is what Robert Kiyosaki is the author of, have been out for years, but I had read so many different things before I ever got to those books, right? And those things were really good for mindset and energy, and he taught me a lot of stuff. But when I got to the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, it was like lightning, you know what I mean? It tied everything together for me in so many different ways that I had been looking for. I really needed the glue to gel it into place. And this kicked me off on a new path that has branched me out into so many different things and have helped me like really just be so solid at what I was missing and what I was lacking. And I've talked to other people who were like, oh, well, I read that years ago and I'm past that. And these people hadn't accomplished or achieved any of the things that I was working on. And it's not that it's a contest or it's a competition. It's not by any means. But here's why that's important. It's because they've read that before I got to it, but they maybe haven't read 30 other things that I've touched on. What's important is not when you get to knowledge, it's putting all the knowledge together. So maybe reading one or two of the books that I've read would have put them in a different place. And this is why I'm always trying to learn and gain new knowledge and new information about how to do things, because you never know when that one little piece of the puzzle is going to come together and make everything complete and tie everything together. And this is why I also had to not get ahead of myself. Because one of the worst things you can do to yourself, and one of the worst ways you can hurt yourself, we've talked about before, is by assuming you know everything. And we've talked about learning before, but the reason that we have to keep having this conversation is because this is so important. I sat down in one day and I listened to some of the most important moguls in the industry across the board. And one of the number one things that they all tell you and that they all recommend that contributed to their success is learning, is reading, is growing their knowledge. Okay? This is Warren Buffett, who's one of the greatest financial minds to ever exist. Okay? This is Tony Robbins. This is Tai Lopez, who I don't really rock with, but I just had a conversation about that. And that's another story. But this is why our next point is super crucial, because there are a lot of people that have already tuned out maybe a little bit and disattached because they just don't feel good about academics. Here's the thing that you have to know, okay? Here's the part that ties this together and what makes this so important. One of the greatest benefits that you can give yourself in this process is learning to understand the way you learn and what works for you. I'm not telling you to go get a book. I'm telling you, go get an audiobook. I'm telling you, go watch a YouTube channel. I'm telling you, go listen to a podcast. There are tons of different ways to learn and acquire and gain new knowledge and improve yourself and better yourself, okay? One of the number one reasons that I put out the podcast is because I have a fundamental understanding of the direction that we've gone in as a people, as a society, as a generation. There are still millions and millions and millions of people that read books. There's a lot of people that read ebooks. And that's why I put the information out that way, because I wanted to reach as many people as possible. I wanted to touch as many people as possible. Okay? But then what about the people who don't read? What about the people who can't get into books? So I started the podcast, because if I can talk to you, if I can give you my passion, if I can connect with you and teach you something in the process and show you new things that help you be motivated, that's my goal. That's what I want to do. That's how I want to get it. And that's what I'm going to share to you. And so the podcast became something that was really crucial to me and very important to me. And this is why we do this every week. And this is why it's so important to me to get this message out, because I understand that people learn and consume information in different ways. That's why I started with an ebook opposed to a paperback book, because the phones is how we reach so many people of so many different generations. This is why a podcast is so dope, because we're always on our phones, okay? It is okay to not learn from a book. Something I love to do, a place that I've learned so many things, YouTube. Some of the most practical things that I've learned and put together in my life that I apply on a daily basis, I took off of YouTube. There is no wrong way to gain knowledge. There is no wrong way to improve. There's no wrong way to get better. Something that I talk about all the time when I'm telling people things, when I'm telling you guys things, when I'm sharing with you, is go out and do, experience. Because theory is great, theory is dope, but theory will never ever trump practical application. There are things that happen in real life that you can't plan for, no matter how well you plan. There are things that happen in real life that are always going to be different than in theory, than in lab data, because people are wild cards and people always change things up, even when that comes to you and the plans that you make for yourself and your own goals. So for those people who aren't good with sitting down, and hands-on is another really great way to learn. I'm so fortunate, I'm so lucky, because there's tons of different ways that I'm capable of learning, and that has blessed me so much in life. Okay, I love books. I love to read, so I've gained a lot of knowledge through reading. Ever since I got a Kindle years back, I became a listener of books. I don't necessarily enjoy audio books, but I'll pop on my Kindle, I'll pop on my iPhone, and I'll have it read a book to me, and I absorb that information so well, and it just flows right into me, and it cuts down the amount of time that I read in books by at least a half. You know what I mean? They go so much faster. And I was already a fast reader, okay? YouTube, I told you, is another way. When I'm learning things, when I'm learning practical application things, the way I put it together is I watch, I learn, I do. I watch someone else do it. I learn their technique. I learn their method. I learn the right way to do it from someone who has tons of experience. Then I try it myself. I see how their method works for me. I learn what's good for me, and then I put it into application in my way. I learn, I try, I do. Okay? And this comes from being and learning to self-teach, because something that hurts people also when it comes to learning, when it comes to gaining knowledge, when it comes to feeling comfortable with how you learn, is your early teachers. One of my earliest teachers was my older brother, and he was a shitty teacher, and so it made learning not great for me, and it also made me a shitty teacher for a long time because I taught the way I learned. He was very aggressive with his teaching. He would get very frustrated with me very easily, and everything was it was a chore. It was a mission. It was a struggle for him to have to go out of his way to teach me anything. And when that's the way people give you knowledge, it doesn't make you feel good about learning things, okay? And so something we have to do is unlearn all of the negative methods that have been taught to us, all of the negative methods that have been shared with us, and we have to learn to reacquaint and make ourselves comfortable with learning. And this is why it's so important to learn and understand the way you learn, because you're not stupid. And there are a lot of us out there that have been led to believe and think that we're stupid because we don't do things the way other people do them, because we don't like books, because we don't have the attention span to sit down and read for hours on end, and that's not how we gain information. It doesn't mean you're dumb, and it doesn't mean that you have to limit yourself. Okay? Learn to get comfortable and open with learning again. And that's one of the most important and beneficial things that you can do for yourself in any and every aspect of life. It doesn't matter if you're trying to get fit and trying to get healthy. You need to learn what's good for you in terms of eating and not eating. You need to learn to understand how your body works for your culture and your background and your people and what's going to be good for you, okay? And this is part of why I do what I do and what we do here, because there's no one answer that works for everyone. And so you going out there and taking information that was written for other people, that wasn't written for you, that doesn't understand or identify with your race and your culture and your background and your beliefs, and trying to apply it to your life, and then it fails, and then you feel like it doesn't work for you. You don't feel like anything is right for you, you know? And that's what I want to try to get away from. I want to talk from our perspective, okay, as black and brown people, and from our background, and help all of us find the path that's right for us to achieve our goals and dreams. I'm so happy to be back with you guys. I'm so happy to be able to be rolling these episodes out. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for staying loyal. I love you guys for being a part of the process. I'm so happy to share this with you. Stay tuned. We got so much new things coming your way, and I can't wait to share it all with you. Bless up, family. We're coming back at you ASAP. Get familiar.